www.andrewhemingway.com/meetandrew. Andrew is the CEO of Digital Ashman, a technology firm specializing in political communications. In 2011, Andrew and his company organized the first ever presidential primary Twitter debate. 6 GOP candidates joined Andrew as he led one of the kind, this first event. Andrew is here to inform us on his thoughts and ideas for the state of New Hampshire.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. I was happy that Tony had asked us to come, and we're always very, very happy to do that. So, my name is Andrew Hemingway, and I'm from Bristol, New Hampshire, and I'm a New Hampshire native, born and raised here. I was born in Plymouth, and an ancestor of mine is actually one of the first Republican governors here in the state of New Hampshire, Nathaniel Berry. And so we now live about a mile away from his sort of original homestead, and I've been a part of New Hampshire for a long, long time. You know what? I'm running for governor because ultimately I believe that our state motto, live free or die, is more than just something that we stamp on the license plates. It's more than just something we paint on the road signs or use as a catchy marketing phrase. Rather, I believe that live free or die is a statement of principle. It actually means something. It means something to me. And I think it means something to all of us. And it's a common thread. It's a principle. It's a thread that runs through all of us here in New Hampshire. And yet, over the last 10 years, we've had consecutive Democrat governors. What's happened over those 10 years? Is New Hampshire today in a better place because of that? Well, the obvious answer is no, we're not. But what's really happened? If we're the live free or die state, what's really happened after 10 years of Democrat governors? Well, ultimately, the real answer is we're less free. We're just in a place where we're less free. There's less individual, there's less economic freedom than there was. State budgets ballooned over 21% in the last 10 years. State government has grown the fastest rate that we have ever seen in state history. Are we in a better place today because of that? I don't think we are. I don't think that we are. But unlike a lot of, normal sort of political rhetoric and, things that you hear from politicians, people travel around, normally it's just a lot of complaining about the current situation, right? Normally it's just, this is bad. What I've been doing throughout this campaign is putting forward solutions. I think that ultimately, Republican principles, in that Republican principles, and what we know is sort of just plain common sense, Greg was talking about, there are solutions to some of our state's largest problems. Things that we need to grab onto and start to talk about. And so I put forward a platform called Solutions First. And it starts with education. Students first. Education today in New Hampshire is in a very, very bad place. We've increased spending by over $1 billion in the last 10 years on education. What have we gotten in return for that? We now spend close to $4 billion a year. It's a lot of money. What are we getting in return for our education dollars? Well, we know our test scores flatlined. Okay? So as spending goes up, scores are the same. What's even worse, as spending goes up and test scores are the same, what's dropping? The number of students. Student enrollment's going down. Does anyone else see the problem here? Right? Our governor is our chief executive. He's the only, or she, is the only person in the state of New Hampshire, elected official, required, under their duties, to watch out for the entire state. We have an executive council, 5 people, that represent their 5 different districts. We have one chief executive. Now, they don't have the powers of a normal chief executive, but their duties rely on looking over the whole state. Why wouldn't a governor over the last 10 years say, hey, maybe there's something wrong with our educational system? Maybe there's something that's happening here? But do you know what's even worse for New Hampshire about education? What's even worse than us spending $4 billion, over $1 billion more over the last 10 years? You know what's even worse than that? It's the number of young people leaving New Hampshire. Why does that matter to our education system? Here's why. We all pay property taxes, right? We pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every year. We pay for those children to go from kindergarten We pay for them to go through elementary school, right? Junior high, we keep paying every year, more money, more money. They go to high school, then what do? They go to a public university, which we also fund. The first year they retake remedial classes, which they should have taken, and taxpayers pay for that again, okay? They graduate, and what happens? What happens when someone graduates from UNH, from Keene State? They leave. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows. When you graduate from a New Hampshire university, where do you go? You leave. We're paying for that. We pay for that $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 a year per student. And they leave. Why is that happening? Is anyone asking the question why? Right? These are problems that our educational system faces today. It's very simple. We are creating, training students for careers that do not exist in New Hampshire. We're building a product without a marketplace for it. Well, there is a marketplace, but it lives in North Carolina, and it lives in Texas, right? It lives in Ohio. New Hampshire is in a very, very bad place when you start to look at education from a broad perspective. How do we fix this problem? How do we, number one, address the cost? It's simple. We embrace school choice. Embrace choice. You know, in every other industry, in every other sort of facet of our lives, we welcome choice, right? We welcome competition. Competition is a healthy thing. It's a fundamental of a free market. Dentist opens up over here. He has really high prices. A new dentist opens up right next to him. What does he do? He lowers his prices, right? It's competition. That's a good thing. Today in New Hampshire, our teachers' unions have our education in a stranglehold. Let me be very clear. It's not the teachers. It is the teachers' unions who have our educational system in a stranglehold. How do they do that? They fight to stop the creation of charter schools. You know that as a state, during this last summer, the State Board of Education came out and put a moratorium on starting charter schools. Why would he do that? Why would we leave federal dollars, actually education dollars, on the table for charter schools? Why would we just leave money on the table for this? Because we put a moratorium in place. Why do we have a moratorium? Think about this. Why are they so opposed to charter schools? It's simple. The teachers in charter schools, they're not unionized. They're not unionized. Oh, and by the way, the cost per student is much, much lower. And guess what? The scores, test scores, much, much higher. Okay? There's a very real problem here. We need competition. We should be embracing competition. We should be saying, yes, let schools compete. That's what we need. That's what our students demand. You know, as governor, I don't want to adopt some sort of federal standards which say that every state now is going to be educated in exactly the same way and we're all going to have the same standards all across the board. Like, what? Why do we want that? You know, I believe that New Hampshire is unique. I think that just like this country is exceptional, I think the state's exceptional. And I think that we should strive for exceptional training for our students. I think that we should have students that when they graduate, they, number one, can stay here and can work here and can live here. But number two, we know that companies and colleges and recruiters, when someone graduates from New Hampshire, it should mean something. If we're investing this much money, we should be getting something in return for that. We have to address this. We have to address these challenges. A lot of that obviously comes through the legislature. But ultimately, it's embracing competition, embracing school choice. Second of all, it's embracing alternative funding mechanisms. Look, education or technology today in education is completely changing the model that we've had for the last 100 years. It is absolutely disrupting. How many people thought years ago that New Hampshire would have a fully accredited online high school? Do you know that we have that? The state of New Hampshire, you can go to high school all online. Who would have thought that's possible? You know, technology today is disrupting education as we know it. Georgia Tech now offers an all-online degree, bachelor's degree, under $6,000. Do you know that they don't actually teach any of those classes? What they've done is they've combined free courses from all over the internet, from Stanford, Yale, MIT. They're combining them into one synchronous program. Under $6,000, you can get a bachelor's degree from Georgia Tech. That's a great school. You can study to be a nuclear physicist all online from MIT. Their entire program's online. Technology is disrupting the way that we've been educating. And today, our students have more opportunity to learn than ever before from more sources. We should be embracing that. We should be using that to our advantage. Part of that is funding mechanisms. What am I talking about? Well, in New Hampshire today, we have an educational scholarship program, which, thanks to representatives, others, we have in place. It's a great program. What is this? It's a scholarship program. How does it work? A private company, okay, donates money to a private charity, 501c3, private. Now, they're highly regulated, what they can do with this money, but they're a private charity, okay? Let me reiterate. Private company donates private money to a private charity. Everybody understand? Okay. What they do is they give scholarships to families who fall below the poverty level to allow them the opportunity to have different choices on where they would school their kids or how they would school their children. Okay? That does not instantly mean homeschool, though many have chosen homeschool. Perhaps you live in a district where the school is suffering and you want your child to travel to a different school district just across the road or, down a couple miles. That takes extra cost. There's other things. Maybe you want them to attend a private school, a charter school. Guess what happened? Guess what happened? Some parents are just irresponsible. You know what they did? They sent their kids. I know you guys are going to be upset about this, I'm going to tell you. They sent their kids to religious schools. Oh, no. I know. It's a travesty. It's really awful, isn't it? You know what our governor did? She said, I think a wise use of taxpayer dollars would be to sue this program, to stop this educational funding opportunity. So let's take them to court and make sure that no money goes to religious schools. Can you believe this? This is the same governor that talks about how we have a revenue shortage in our state, how we need to raise taxes because we don't have enough revenue for everything we're trying. And she's using taxpayer dollar to fund a lawsuit against a private company funding a private nonprofit. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is the sort of hypocrisy, the sort of insanity that we currently have leading our state. It's wrong. It has got to stop. There are a number of different models which now exist throughout this country of different ways of funding education. It's a really interesting study if you want to start to take a look at it. There's a school in New York called P-TECH. IBM is involved. The New York University is involved. The New York school system is involved. It's an amazing program with amazing results. We as a state need to open up our arms and embrace this. We need to absolutely be on the cutting edge of technology when it comes to education. Because without that, our students are going to suffer. Are we a state that's ready to move into the next century, into a global marketplace? When our students leave our schools, are they ready for the global marketplace that they're facing? We have high schoolers now making millions of dollars selling algorithms that they program during study hall. That happened in Dover. A kid started a program in high school, in study hall, sold it for a couple $1 million. Right? Our students are hacking into the school system, playing with camera. This is happening. Are we ready for that as a state? Are we preparing our students for that? I think we can. I think we can cut costs. I think we can improve the quality of our product. We can do that in education. It's going to take a leader who's willing to get in and to shake it up a little bit. We have to reset priorities. We've got to push back against the unions. We have to embrace school choice, embrace alternative funding mechanisms. And that's how, ultimately, we put students first. Second of all is our healthcare situation in the state. I'm not going to talk about it basically because Greg basically said everything that I would have said. I want to add two things to it. How do we fix the problem? Your question about business owners. I've built and sold 2 tech companies, worked on my 3rd tech company. I'm an entrepreneur. That's who I am. My dad was an entrepreneur, architect for a long time. My grew up, with drafting board at the table, and this, who I am is just an entrepreneur. I don't know how else to explain it. So I've been building companies, hiring employees, working with employees, and building plans. The way that Obamacare is affecting a business owner today in the state of New Hampshire and all over this country is in the most harmful way possible. Because if you're a business owner, there's one thing that you hate more than anything else. You hate insecurity. You want to be able to plan. If you can plan, you can prosper. If you cannot plan, you cannot prosper. It's just impossible. Right now, companies, just like Greg said, with all these different mandate movements and all these different changes and this and that, companies don't know how to plan for it. They can't plan for 2016, 2017, and they're trying to write 5, 10, 15-year plans. They have no clue. We don't know what's going to happen. Do you know that right now, under the mandate, the current laws, the way the mandates are set up, if you don't offer health insurance to your employees, you have over 50, it's $2,000 penalty per employee. Do you know that if you offer a plan that doesn't meet Obamacare guidelines, it's over $30,000 per employee? It sounds awful, doesn't it? But guess what? That could change. It might apply to you, but it's not going to apply to you. But we've never seen our federal government play favorites before, have we? They would never engage in such a game like that. Look, I want to put your minds at ease. The IRS is going to be administering it, so no worries. No worries. Yeah. Healthcare is something which is very, very intimate. It's a very personal type of an issue. And what Obamacare has done for New Hampshire specifically is shown a big, bright light on a very, very big problem, which is that we only have one health insurance company in the state of New Hampshire that's currently on the exchange. That is an enormous problem. And by creating that monopoly, which, by the way, they reported over double the average profit last year as a company of health insurance companies all across the country. They're extremely profitable. And we're all paying for that. We pay for that. And yes, Gene Shaheen, and it's just as much John Lynch. We have one insurance company. And now, because they're the only guys in the game, they can say, hey, look, guys, if you want us to come to the table, you're going to have to narrow the network, because that's the only way we're going to remain profitable. I don't mind a company being profitable. That's what they're there for, right? We've created an environment that allows this game to exist. How do we defeat that? How do we stop that? Number one, we have to create an environment which makes New Hampshire attractive for other health insurance providers. How do we do that? We roll back the enormous amount of regulation we place on health insurance companies in New Hampshire today. We roll back the insurance mandates. Roll back all of that. Roll back taxation, which we place on premiums and other costs. Make New Hampshire an attractive place for health insurance companies to come to. It's really simple. You can say it's going to be easy, right? But it's a simple solution. It's really that simple. It's economics. If companies say, hey, we can make money there, they're going to come here. If they look at it and go, we're never going to make money there, the company that's here doesn't, said that we're not going to make money unless we change things. That's a problem. We've got to create a regulatory environment which incentivizes other health insurance providers to move to New Hampshire and to do it rapidly. We need to allow individuals to band together, small groups. That will allow you to access a different marketplace with different options. We can do that. We need to do that. There's a number of free market-based solutions which we can start to implement. And as governor, we need to be proactively looking at portions of the Obamacare law which we as a state can nullify and can start to push back against this bill for the protection of our citizens. We've got to do these things. The last thing, very simply, is jobs in the economy. I don't know how many of you feel this way in this room or you kind of notice this, but New Hampshire is absolutely stuck in a quagmire when it comes to jobs and our economy. We're just stuck. We've just completely just sort of just moseying along, no growth, nothing really happening. People can't find jobs. But wait! Last week they announced the unemployment rate went down 0.2%. Aren't you excited about that? That doesn't mean more people found jobs. It means more people stopped looking for jobs. That's what that means. Governor Hassan was out giving herself a little victory lap, patting herself on the back, going around the state. Can any one of you name one piece of legislation or one thing, even an initiative, one initiative that Governor Hassan has put forward? Just put forward, not even what's accepted, just put forward that would be a cause for driving the unemployment rate down.
There's none.
I can't think of anything either. There's nothing.
Okay.
Never. I was thinking about it, maybe as a state senator. What could she have done as a state senator? She was there for 6 years. She was a majority leader. She must have done something, right? All I know is things that she's done which would create the exact opposite effect. The LLC tax, right? Remember that? 5% tax if you own an LLC, right? Well, New Hampshire doesn't have an income tax, though. Just if you earn money, right? LLC, no. There's nothing. Folks, there's nothing. I was on with James Pindell from Hemingway a couple weeks ago. I asked him the same question. I was like, can you name anything that would have, nothing. There isn't anything. Folks, it's time for a change in that corner office. We need an executive who understands. Now look, the powers of a governor in New Hampshire are very limited. You have to have a signature and a hand holder to walk you from the executive council, to walk you from the chamber into the next room, basically. Okay? It's very, very limited. So what can the governor do to affect this? What can he do? Number one, set new priorities. Say, hey, wake up. There's new priorities here. New Hampshire's now going to be open for business. We're going to create an environment in New Hampshire that's pro-business. Number two, what can they do? They can use their governorship as a bully pulpit. They also can use it for influence. What am I going to do as governor? I'm going to, number one, break up the Department of Revenue and Economic Development. It's called DREAD. It's not a good name for such a positive group, okay? We're going to break up DREAD, and I'm moving the economic development portion into the Capitol building. We're going to have an office near the governor's office where the economic development team is going to exist. Why? Because I think that it's the most important thing a governor in New Hampshire can do. To go and to get businesses to come and to move to New Hampshire. We need businesses moving here. Do you know we average 350 new jobs moving into New Hampshire a year over the last 10 years? 350. That's not good. We send 125,000 people a day over the border into Massachusetts for jobs. Why is it when you stand on the border of Nashua or Salem, you look across the border, and what do you see? You see high-tech industrial firms all over. Can anyone explain to me? I thought we were the tax haven. I thought we were the New Hampshire advantage. Yet over and over and over again, these companies decide to plant their bases in Massachusetts. I had an experience just a couple weeks ago. It's a biotech firm moving from California, wanted to come to New Hampshire. Veteran-owned, 200 employees, $200 million a year in revenue. That's a great business for New Hampshire to get. Okay? That is a business we want in New Hampshire. Guess what? They said they called the Department of Revenue and Economic Development, called the governor's office. They were calling, looking for some help, looking for some way in. Wasn't happening. Guess what they did? They went to Massachusetts. Governor Patrick came out and walked around the lot with them. State senators took them out after work for drinks, right? They wined and dined them. They were proactive, a state that's proactively seeking business. That's what they're doing. Now, why would they base their business so close to New Hampshire? Well, it's simple. The executives who have high incomes live in New Hampshire, where there's no income tax. And they place their business across the border where they get help and support from the state. Does anyone else see a problem with this? We can fix this. This is something that we can fix simply by saying, we are going to go after this business. We're going to proactively seek this business. We're going to move this business into New Hampshire. We have an opportunity, I think, in New York. If I was the governor of New Hampshire, I'd be living in New York State right now. Doing what? What happened? Why would we do that? What did the governor of New York recently say on camera and broadcast? What did he say?
Move the businesses out.
Yeah, I mean, basically said,
If you want pro-business, get out.
conservative business owners are not welcome in my state. That's what he said. The mayor of New York City doubled down on it. Same thing. What happened? 60 days, Remington moves 2,000 jobs to Alabama. Companies are fleeing New York. Why aren't we there? Why aren't we proactively trying to do that? You know, look, people in New Hampshire have told me, oh, well, we tried. You know, we sent an email to them or something like that. No! You know, as governor, we can get into every boardroom in this country, and we need to. We've got to. Why is it important that we do this? Because companies like that who move to New Hampshire will give us the opportunity to keep our young people here. Allow them to have high-paying jobs and build families. This is what a governor should be doing. And if I'm elected governor, I will be doing. It's very simple. It's solutions. Solutions to some of our state's largest problems. It's patients first, healthcare, it's students first, and it's workers first. That is our plan. How we're going to fix it. So, thank you very much.